do have 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call the May 1st meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order at this time and recognize that we do have a quorum. I'll lead us in an invocation, after which Commissioner per year will lead our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you desire, please join me in prayer, please. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be in here tonight. Thank you for the health, strength, and the freedom that we have to assemble together to conduct the business of our county. And may our decisions be wise and thoughtful in the best interests of the people of Person County, with your guidance and direction. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we have a discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda as presented. Any comments or discussion?
Move for approval.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. Item number 1 is public hearing, special use permit application, SUP 0323 for BV/Western Jim Thorpe, SPE LLC in Rural Conservation Zoning District for an electrical substation located at Pollywood Facility Substation at tax map 69-313. Mr. Let's see, Chris Bowley, do we have a motion?
Motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, if I may, before Mr. Bowley begins, let me give Commissioners and public interested citizens my usual short speech about these special use permit hearings. These are quasi-judicial proceedings. It's not the typical sort of public hearing where anyone can just stand up and say whatever they want and then the board makes a legislative decision. This is a little different. It's more like a court, but more informal than court. In this case, the board, by adopting the zoning and planning ordinances, have already decided generally what uses are allowable in each zoning district, but they provided for these special use permits if, but only if, evidence is submitted during the public hearing that establishes that 4 criteria that are set out in the ordinance are satisfied. All the sworn testimony is under oath, and the board must make the decision based only on the evidence in the record, which includes the application, other information from the planning staff, all of the testimony in the public hearing, but nothing else outside the record. End of speech. Thank you.
All right.
At this time, we will do the oath of sworn testimony, and we would ask Mr. Chris Bowley and Mr. Kurt Updegraff to come to the front to the podium, please. Chairman Powell, you have
All right.
it.
Yeah, I will read the oath. If you will, please repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Chris Bowley,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I
do solemnly swear and affirm that I
will tell the truth,
will tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth,
and nothing but the truth,
as testimony offered in a public hearing
as testimony offered in a public hearing
for petition SUP
for petition SUP
03-23,
SUP 03-23, SUP 03-23,
a special use permit
special use permit,
application for BV/Weston
application for BV/Weston
Jim Thorpe SPE
Jim Thorpe SPE
LLC in Rural Conservation,
LLC and Rural Conservation,
zoning district for electrical substation,
zoning district for electrical substation,
Hollywood Facility Substation,
Hollywood Facility Substation,
at tax map 69-313.
at tax map 69-313.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And so, Mr. Bowley, you're up.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners.
Sir.
Chris Bowley, Planning and Zoning Director. Tonight, we have a special use permit application for SUP 03-23, the Hollywood Facility Substation. There we go. Subject property is north of here at the existing Hollywood campus. It's 31.33 acres, and we gave it an address recently at 3090 Jim Thorpe Highway. The existing building does not currently have a substation, and there's a new 500,000 square foot building being built next to it on that campus. And so this substation would serve both buildings and be in close proximity to the power grid, which is Duke's. The facility is inside of an industrial use campus that's industrially designated on your future land use map, and this application would make it consistent with the comp plan. General map shows the 31 acres on the east side of Jim Thorpe Highway and south. You'll see it better on the next exhibit on the aerial photo. I think this has a little laser on it. So about where the laser is where the proposed substation will be located. The southern driveway is where the laser is now. The existing building is here. The new building, 500,000 square feet, will be here. And all of this will remain wooded. This is the Duke existing power line easement right here, which Duke has worked, as I understand, Mr. Updegraff can talk about, has worked with Polywood to best locate the proposed substation. This affirms that the industrial future land use designation, it exists on the existing Polywood building site, the new Polywood building site, and even lands to the south of the 31 acres. And you can see that where the substation will be entirely within the industrially designated area. This is the zoning map showing rural conservation, or RC, the green. And that is why we're here tonight, because the table of permitted uses in your planning ordinance requires that such type facility is located by special use permit in the RC zoning. You can see that the yellow to the west is on the opposite side of Jim Thorpe Highway. That's about a quarter mile to the nearest residence to the west, and about a half a mile to the south of the nearest residence, keeping in mind that the existing vegetation is going to stay in place to act as buffering and screening. And it's about 1,800 feet to the east of the next resident. This is the proposed site plan. As I mentioned, here is the substation, the shaded gray area, the southern driveway coming in off of Jim Thorpe with a driveway extension for operation and maintenance purposes to the substation. And the proximity of the substation to the existing building and to the new 500,000 square foot building, in addition to the potential to connect to the existing transmission line. And then what we have to look at as planners is the findings of fact that are listed in section 155 to determine if the proposed use supports the comp plan. From this criteria, approval of special use permit application supports the 4 findings of fact listed below: that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. The proposed use will occupy vacant land and observe all of the minimum setback criteria. that the use meets all required conditions and specifications. The proposed use will be constructed in accordance with Duke Energy standards and specifications as well as the county's planning ordinance. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. The proposed use will be screened from public view by existing vegetation and not become a nuisance. That the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the comp plan. Location of the proposed facility will be set back from a public road, Jim Thorpe Highway, and adjacent properties while being in close proximity to the buildings that they serve. That meets the findings of fact. Based on the existing industrial use and entitlements on the site, adjacency to lands with existing industrial future land use designation, consistency with guiding principle number 2 and goals number 2, 4, 7, and 8 of that principle, and in support of the continued economic development, job creation in Person County, Planning and Zoning Department staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners approve special use permit SUP 03-23 for the Pollywood Facility Substation Project with the following conditions and potential motion. I hereby move to approve special use permit SUP 03-23 for the Pollywood Facility Substation Project with the following conditions. The applicant obtains all required permits from the County Environmental Health Department, Planning and Zoning Department, and Inspections Department, and the applicant obtains required permits from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and any other agency to achieve construction, operations, and maintenance of the subject property. That's my presentation. Do have
Thank you,
any
sir.
questions? Thank you. And with that, if I may introduce Mr.
Please do.
Updegraff, Kurt Updegraff. Thank you.
My name's Kurt Updegraff. I'm with Weston Development. We're the property owners, and I'm the Director of Development, so I manage all the construction and design and working with our tenants.
Sir, for the record, what is your address, please?
Uh,
Your
I have it.
residential address?
my-
I have it 4760 Richmond Road, Suite 200, Cleveland, Ohio.
right,
Very good. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I don't know if everybody knows what Pollywood does, but Pollywood makes plastic Adirondack chairs, outdoor furniture, and it is a fully vertically integrated operation. So they use recycled milk jugs and laundry detergent jugs. They grind those up. They'll mix them with colored plastic pellets, so they get maybe 50 different colors. They run this through an extruding machine to create lumber. And that is one of the big functions of this new building we're building. There'll be the extrusion machines in there. There'll be 48 of them, and they draw quite a bit of power. So this is why we need to supplement the power that's already there. Also in the new facility will be the recycling area where they'll receive the milk jugs, grind them up. Then there'll be a shipping area. So once they make the lumber, they extrude this lumber, they take that to the existing building where they have machines that will cut it into pieces and drill it, and then they fabricate it into all kinds of different furniture. I'd say Adirondack chairs, but they make all kinds of other types of outdoor furniture. Once it's manufactured there or put together there, they ship it back. There's about 200,000 square feet that's a warehouse for distribution in the new building. So that's the operation there. They're probably going to have 500 to 600 people working when it's all said and done, combined in both facilities. We did try to locate this in proximity to the new building, so it's right there. It's in the back of land we own that fronts on Jim Thorpe. So there's about 1,000 feet of trees between this facility and Jim Thorpe. Weston is going to build a pad. We're going to cut a few trees down, about 1.5 acres. We're going to build a pad, and then Duke will come in and actually build the substation. So that'll be built by them using their contractors under their supervision. I'll answer any other questions.
Questions from board members? Anyone? Do not, then, thank you very much. Okay, at this point, Madam Clerk, do we have public comments from those opposing this?
No, there's no one else that signed up to speak during this public hearing.
None at all.
None at all.
Oh, okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing then?
So moved.
Motion to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Item number 2 is consideration to grant or deny the special use permit request.
Motion to approve the special use permit that all 4 findings of fact have been met and are in accordance with Person County ordinances.
And with 2 conditions that Mr. Bowley listed.
Yes.
On page 15, I believe it was. Everybody okay with that? Everybody good? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item number 3 is a public hearing, special use permit, application SUP 0423 by Gary Garrett for recreational vehicle park. Do we have a motion to go into a public hearing?
So moved.
Motion, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, so we are in a public hearing. And Attorney Hankins, you need to,
Chairman and Commissioners,
Restate.
this is the same sort of proceeding. No need for me to make the same speech, but the same provisions apply. Thank you.
okay, so anyone wishing to speak, would you?
Yes, at
call?
this time, I'd like to call Gary Garrett, Jody Williams, Garland Ragland, Tabitha George, Tim Avance, Clarence Holloway to the front to be sworn in. And I'll put one of them here. And this may help as I read the motion. If you'll put your hand on the Bible, please. Yeah, if everybody will.
Yeah, crowd in there somewhere, or make room. All right, so I'll, if you don't mind, please repeat after me. I, and state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
Truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
as testimony offered in a public hearing for petition, we better get those in there. SUP 0423, a special use permit application
Special use permit application.
by Gary Garrett, a recreational vehicle park to be located along the northwest side of Thomas Store Road
Thomas Store Road,
at tax map A95-26.
tax map A95-26.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we'll recognize Mr. Chris Bowley to introduce the request.
Hello, Chairman and Commissioners.
Good evening again.
Good evening again. So this is also a special use permit application, SUP 04-23. We were approached on an application for the subject property, which is 16.27 acres, located between Thomas Store Road and Pixie Pritchard Road, across Thomas Store Road from the entrance to the Roxborough Motorsports Park. The supports area economic development by supporting the adjacent sports park. Proposed recreational vehicle park is up to 6 RV pads on the application, and I'll give you an update on that as we go. Following the planning ordinance criteria for the location, this is consistent with your comp plan. It's compatible land use to existing uses and keeps the rural character of the area, mainly because of its size. This is the general map showing where it is located between Pixley Pritchard Road and Thomas Store Road. And although the scale's a little difficult to see, here's the aerial photo. And there's a pond, or a borrow pit, that became a pond in the middle. And where the pointer is the proposed location for the RV pads, closest to Thomas Store Road. The Roxborough Motorsports Park is over here to the right. There's a single-family house across the street set back about 700 feet. There's about a 200-foot width of existing vegetation from the closest house over here where the RVs would be. And then there are homes to the north of Pixley Pritchard Road. This is the future land use map showing rural for the entire area in your comp plan. This is the zoning map with corresponding zoning of RC, rural conservation, matching that rural. For everybody's benefit in the room, we're talking about to the east side of the county, by the way, out off of Oxford Road. This is a topography map and site plan showing the pond in the middle of the property. And it's very hard to see on this, but there are 6 slips listed. There's also a little drain field located here. The applicant came in, met with our environmental health department, and actually what is physically constructible are 4 pads, not 6. But the application was already set for our process for 6, but as proposed, they'll only be putting in 4. And the pad typical is here in the bottom. So, as with the last application, we have findings of fact. We'll go through each one of those. That the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located were proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. There are no proposed negative materials to be located at the park, and the park is designed to all county ordinances. That the use meets all required conditions and specifications. The proposed use meets all the buffer yard and other requirements of the county and our planning ordinance. That the use will not substantially injure or the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. The Roxborough Motorsports Park's been located nearby for 60 years, thereabouts. This RV park will provide available campers for area visitors and race fans. That the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the comp plan. The RV park will become an asset to the community by making camping and fishing available for recreation, especially in close proximity to the motorsports park. Based on the above, Planning and Zoning Department staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners approve special use permit SUP 0423 for the Garrett Recreational Vehicle Park project with the following conditions and potential motion. Hereby move to approve special use permit SUP 0423 for the Garrett Recreational Vehicle Park project with the following conditions. The applicant obtains all required permits from the County Environmental Health Department, Planning and Zoning Department, Inspections Department, and the applicant obtains required permits from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and any other agency to achieve construction, operation, and maintenance of the subject property. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Board member questions, anyone? All right.
And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Garrett, the applicant. Thank you.
The reason I want to build this park is to give racers and race fans going to the Roxborough Motorsports Park.
Sir, may I interrupt you just a second? Madam Clerk, do we have his name and address?
We do, we
Very
do.
good.
His
Thank you.
address is 1977 Bowmantown Road of Roxborough.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, sir.
to give racers and race fans going to Roxborough Motorsport Park a place to park their RVs with full hookup and have a quiet atmosphere with a view of a pond. I myself have been an RV for 30 years and know the in and outs of running RV park and what you need to have to do to maintain and operate one. The RV park would bring business to the local stores, increase sales and tax revenue. It would also promote Roxborough Motorsports Park, giving camp facilities right across the road. Any questions?
Board members, questions? Hearing none.
All right. Then we'll call our next speaker, Mr. Jody Williams of 1183 Rocky Branch Drive.
Yes, sir, fellas. I guess I'm the owner of Roxborough Motorsports Park, good or bad. And like I said, I have quite a few of the families is always asking for water and sewer hookup, and we don't offer any of that at the park. So that would be a great access for a few of the campers that do come in with the family and kids, and I think it would be, like I said, a great asset to the park if we only had more than 4, but like I say, it's a start. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have
Yes, we
public
do.
comments?
We will now move to those who have signed up in opposition to. Our first one is Mr. Garland Ragland of Roxborough.
Mr. Commissioners,
Good evening, sir.
I'm here tonight to represent my church, New St. James Missionary Baptist Church. Now I did a little study, and most times we look at those places when they get those RVs, parks in your area, it brings down your land value. And my church have service on first and third Sundays, and when we are there on some of those Sundays during the summertime, with the racetrack, we hear noise during that time. We have another church that we know of that had an RV center next to them, and some of the RV centers, RV vehicles took and parked their vehicles in their church grounds, started doing donuts. Their church in turn had to turn around and get lights and cameras for protection for their church. So that's why New St. James Missionary Baptist Church is opposed to that, and a whole lot of our older members live right there in the area. And so that's maybe why we are opposed to that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we will hear from Ms. Tabitha George of Timberlake.
So I am Tabitha George, and I would like to start with point number 2, which says it meets all the requirements and conditions. According to the site plan requirements, which are in the ordinance, the following have not been met on the site plan which I have reviewed, and I don't believe it was met on the site plan which was presented. First of all, it says the boundary of the lots. That did not show the complete lot. With bearings and distances, there were no bearings and distances. Total gross land area, there was no total gross land area. Property owner and applicant, that was not listed on the site plan per the ordinance. Vicinity map, it was not shown on the site plan. Topography of the site was not shown for the entire parcel. It was only shown for a select portion of the parcel. Existing buildings and structures within 500 feet adjacent thereto, those were not shown on the site plan. Also, so those are things that were missing from the site plan. The site plan should not be considered complete. It's not meeting the conditions that should be found in the finding of fact number 2. As for the finding of fact number 1, public health and safety, I think this can make potential increase in trespassing, potential vandalism at the New St. James Church, which is right there at the proposed RV park. And there's not very much of a police presence in this area of the county at all. I was trying to look on my phone earlier when one time my alarm system hit the panic unknowingly, called the sheriffs, and it either took an hour or 30 minutes for anyone to come to my location in this same area. So it would take a long time to get a police response in my experience. For number 3, It should be a public necessity or not materially injure the properties. It's not a public necessity. And on page 88, there may be some slight discrepancies in formatting. But on item number 8, it states that the burden of proof of not injuring the property value is on the applicant. And also on part number 4, finding of fact. This is mainly an agricultural and residential area of the county. The sports park is an outlier, and I don't know that there was zoning provisions in place at the time that it was installed.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from Mr. Tim Avance.
Tim A. Vance, 3739 Pixley Pritchard Road. I guess mainly I opposed, objects, whatever, for or against, neither one. Basically just asked some general questions and talked to the gentleman earlier, and he kind of answered some of those for me. I guess the concern with some of the neighbors that I've talked to, it's limited to 4 spots, and we understand that. Our concern is, does this open the window for even more spots to be open later on? And also, what are the limits going to be as far as how long someone can stay there? Are there limits, or are there not limits? We're concerned that it's going to turn into something where somebody is going to come in and they're going to plant themselves and they're going to be there year round. That's our concern, as well as the expansion of it. So those are really questions that haven't been answered for us. Other concern I've got, I brought up with the lady of planning as well. Just something I've noticed over the years. I've been there 35 years living in the community. When we get a heavy rain, a lot of times, especially when we get one of those tropical storms that come through or whatever, the water comes out of that pond there, and I know there's nothing that Gary and them can do about that. The pond's been there forever. Water comes out of that and it washes across right there at the intersection of Pixley Pritchard and Thomas Store Road. And a lot of times the water stands there. And I know they're trying to do a little bit of something, looks like, to address that there in the corner, but our concern is if these 4 lots, I think they've studied that, talked about what, how much water it's gonna allow to run off. But even if it's expanded more, is that gonna cause more runoff and a problem in there in that corner? So I don't know that that's been addressed. Somebody might can answer that for us, but I think it's a concern. Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
And our last speaker on this subject is Mr. Clarence Holloway of Pixley Pritchard Road, 4130 Pixley Pritchard.
Good evening. Again, she
Good
stated.
evening.
Sorry? Good
Good
evening. It's, again, she stated Clarence Holloway, Pixley Pritchard, Timberlake, North Carolina. And a lot of has already been addressed, and don't want to beat the dead horse and tell you again. But I guess our main concern would be, again, like Ms. Tabitha said, the vandalism and different things that would happen to our church. I'm speaking in behalf of the church. With it not being a police presence out there, if anything was to take place, whatever the case may be, I would just want to know what will be the guidelines and procedures of that. I understand as it is, we have to maintain structure, integrity of our building and ourselves from standard day-to-day use. But if there was someone to come over to our property and damage or vandalize the property from the RV park there, what I would like to know, what are our guidelines and what lines we would need to take to regain some finances from that, if we have to fix different things like that, or if there would be willing to make sure that they solidify, if anyone would be assisting to solidify our church and making sure that we can seal it off, or make sure that we don't have any problems with that if this was to pass. Those are just different questions I would like to have and understand and know what those procedures would be.
Thank you, sir. So that was the last.
That was the last one.
Okay, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman Powell.
Have a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Motion carried.
Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
One legal comment from me. Commissioners certainly can take into consideration all the testimony that was offered by proponents and opponents. One comment about a couple of statements that were made, particularly about effect on property values. I want to tell you that the statute is very clear about who can offer testimony that can be considered about the effect on property values. The statute says that lay people like me, I am not educated, not certified on real estate and valuation. I'm just a lawyer. So lay people, the statute says, are not competent to offer evidence about effect on properties in the area, for your information.
Okay, thank you, sir. Item number 4 on the agenda then would be an action on part of the board here for consideration to grant or deny the special use permit application.
Cheryl Bell, I make a motion to approve SUP 0423 vehicle park on the Thomas Store Road.
Have a motion to approve the request. Further comments or questions? Statements, anybody? All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Clarification, that
Yes, sir.
that motion and the approval does include the 2 recommended conditions, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. At this time in our meeting, we have a 10-minute period set aside for public comment. We do that at each meeting and we have citizens to come forward and express their concerns. Do we have any signed up?
Yes, we have one individual this evening.
One individual, we have 10 minutes, so.
All right, I'll ask
that
Mr.
person- Go
Mr.
ahead.
Frank Stoltzman of
Okay.
Rosewood Drive, Roxborough, to come to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I am not going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to make this as short as I can. As you know, I've been in front of you before, and I've attended a number of meetings. And I'd like to discuss something that has sort of been brought up in other meetings, but I wanted to kind of make it official that this is a concern that the building industry in Roxborough has, and in Person County. One of the meetings that I attended, there was discussion about Duke's requirement economically to replace revenues in areas where they were closing plants. And since Duke is closing 2 plants in our area, I know there's been talk about the plants staying open, doing other things, but Duke has been required by, my understanding is they've been required by the Utilities Commission to work with local communities to try to replace any economic shortfall that would result from the plant's closing. At that meeting, you all voted to hire a firm to look out for the interests of Person County. And I thought that was a great idea. I think it's very important. And I think it's important that collectively the county works with other state representatives and also with Duke to try to find a solution, an economic solution. I would like to propose an economic solution for your consideration. I know we can't talk about it, but I'd like to put it out there publicly, I guess is the best thing. As you all know, Mayo Lake, the sister lake to Hyco Lake, is currently available for development, and at this point is fairly underdeveloped compared to Hyco Lake. One of the reasons why is because Mayo Lake is not allowed to have permanent docks. Another reason is that they're not allowed to clear to the water line. A third reason is they're not allowed to riprap the shoreline. All things which Hyco Lake does provide for. And as a result, Hyco Lake is basically built out at this point. There are very few lots left to build on at Hyco Lake. What I would like to propose is that you commissioners utilize and influence, if possible, the necessary departments within the state organizations to open Mayo Lake up in a similar fashion to what Hyco Lake is currently. But with the caveat that we do it in a way that's better than Hyco Lake and take what we've learned at Hyco Lake and make it a better lake to live on. In doing that, you would then bring in the capabilities of homes being built on Mayo Lake, similar to what you have on Hyco Lake, where your average cost of a home right now is over $850,000. I'm not a real estate person, I'm just telling you my rough average. With that kind of tax revenue that would be coming into the county, that would significantly counteract tax revenue lost from Duke. It is also my understanding that Duke does not have control of Mayo Lake, that Duke has property on Mayo Lake but does not control the lake. It is my understanding that environmental health for the state, as well as the Corps, have control of the lake. So those two entities would have to be persuaded to allow Hyco Lake to be developed. My understanding in conversations is the Corps of Engineers has no issue. As a matter of fact, they would encourage Mayo Lake to have riprap added to its shoreline, which is being eroded by boats currently. And they don't have any problem with the docks. The real problem at this point is the environmentalists at the state who want to keep Mayo Lake as pristine as they can. So again, having a lobbyist firm, knowing that Duke is motivated to try to help our community replace tax value, knowing that we have the opportunity to develop the land and increase tax revenue on land that's currently well undervalued. I think it would be wise, and I don't know the procedure at this point, that's why I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if there's a possibility for discussion in the future. I know there's not now, but maybe in the future, the near future, you know, you commissioners might allow some conversation about ways that we might be able to open up Mayo Lake. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on the agenda is motion to approve the consent agenda as presented to you.
Chairman and Commissioners, for what it's worth, both of these issues are fairly complex with a lot of legal issues. I just want to let you know I've reviewed all the documents and the contract with respect to the second item and find them all acceptable and ready for your approval if you see fit.
Okay, any discussion on the consent agenda? I'm sorry?
Who made a motion?
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Gary did, yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, just clarify.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for doing the fine job you always do. You got too many papers before we tonight. And item number 6 on the agenda would be lease of aircraft hangar at Raleigh Regional Airport at Person County. Mr. Fashee.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Person County has received a verbal proposal for the lease of the county's new corporate hangar located at 499 Montgomery Drive, Timberlake, North Carolina. The potential lessee, PMG Aereo Incorporated, has offered $20,000 per month with a 5-year lease term. County Attorney Ellis Hankins is prepared a draft lease agreement, which is included in your agenda packet. And that draft has also been provided to the leasee for their consideration. A couple of bullet points, I guess, or highlights of the proposed contract or proposed lease. It is for $20,000 a month for 5 years, as stated. It has a clause for a 1.5% annual increase in the lease rate. The lessee is responsible for all utilities. The county or lessor is responsible for all the maintenance. They will provide 1 month's rent as a deposit for us to hold. If the lessee exits prior to 5-year lease expiration, he is due to pay the county 12 months of rent. And Bill Tugas, our airport FBO operator, is here, and I are available for any questions if we can so answer them.
Board member comments, questions? Anybody?
I think you answered one of the questions that I had, and my concern was, we leased it for 5 years, and we haven't tried to sell this property, to my knowledge. And so for 5 years, we're gonna lease it, and so we will not be advertising this hangar for sale for 5 years. Is that correct? So we won't, 5 years from now, and this is done, if the leasee doesn't decide he wants to lease it anymore, then we're back to square one of either trying to sell it or trying to find another lease. I just didn't know, I guess, I'm not against it, my concern is that we haven't given an opportunity to see if we can sell it, and we're going with the lease. But it is money that it will be coming in, but I'm just concerned with 5 years. And in between now and 5 years, someone says, oh, I'd like to buy the building. Well, it's not going to be for sale. So it'll be leased for 5 years. But that's just my comment on it. That was my concern all along, that we really never gave it a chance as far as selling it. So might be the best move, but,
Any other comments?
Can Bill come up?
Sure.
Bill?
Can I
I'm
mention
sorry.
something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
And the version that you would be considering is in hard copy in front of you. There are some revisions to the agreement that was included in your agenda packet. You did receive this version this morning, and again, you have the hard copy, and it includes the provisions that Ray mentioned.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Bill, one question I have is the rental of $20,000 year one. I don't have any experience when it comes to leasing aircraft hangars. Obviously, you have some experience on it.
Quite a bit, yes.
Yes, sir. My question, and do you feel like this is the right move for the county?
Yes.
In the best interest of the county?
I have no other interest. It is.
I understand that.
I feel it is the best interest.
Okay. Under the lease, we would not be able to ask the leaseor to, when they store the aircraft, they're not required to register that aircraft in Person County. And do we have any right to put that into the lease, Mr. Attorney?
We don't. We proposed that as one condition, and it was not acceptable to the gentleman.
Right.
Hmm.
Or to almost anybody with that type of airplane.
We thought it was worth asking.
Yep.
And it's not acceptable.
Bill, if I could ask you a question.
Sure.
And you heard me just earlier what my concern was. In your experience, as far as selling a hangar of what we have, would you say they're hard to sell?
I would say they're very hard to sell.
Okay.
Yep. This type of hangar.
Right. Well, I know a location, that's one, again,
Yes.
location, but I was just, that's my, like.
And
like
I
Commissioner
have
previously.
been putting it out there to sell it too.
Right.
And Gordon knows that.
Yeah. I don't have the knowledge or experience, but I'm just
Yeah.
relying on you.
And I believe they're gonna be more than a 5-year lease.
Okay.
And then we have the right to renegotiate after 5.
Any other questions, Mr. Tookus?
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
There's an old saying I grew up with, bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush, or better than 2 in the bush, so you know where I'm going with that.
I do. I feel the same. And it'll pay for itself over and over again versus a sale.
Well, I would say historically, going back to when the idea of building the hangar was broached, that it went with full approval from this board, and we're just getting to the point that we can do something with it. The concept then was that county government could actually do something that produced revenue, and we're to that point tonight. We do have a product. It is a good product, and it's something that someone wants to lease. That's revenue. And I don't feel that we as a board should turn our back on taxpayers receiving $20,000 a month for, even though it's a limited period of 5 years, I still think that's a revenue stream that we desperately need at this point. And in this budget, as we see evolving and developing, and I think it's a great opportunity. And during those 5 years, we could investigate further. I don't mean it would take us 5 years to find someone that wants to purchase, but it does somewhat take the pressure off to do something immediately. We have had a prospect that led us on for about 6 months or better, and never really submitted the funds that would reserve that sale. So I think we're moving along to the next step in succession, and I think it's a very good thing to do. I fully support it.
So in your personal opinion, you feel that 20,000 is a fair price? We're not cutting ourselves short, right?
Very fair. I mean, we'd like to have had higher, but
Right.
that's what.
But we're not cutting ourselves short.
Oh, no.
And that escalator, so-called 1.5% per year increase, does apply for each year during the initial 5-year period. You notice it also says that unless one of the parties terminates, gives notice of termination to the other, it continues after that 5 years on a year-to-year basis, and the escalator applies in each of those years too, unless renegotiated.
Which could happen.
Right.
Anything else? Mr. Tookus, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you do out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding the hangar lease? Comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Commissioner Powell, Chairman Powell, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Raleigh Regional Lease Hangar Agreement with PMG Aero Inc. At the monthly amount of $20,000 recurring, with recurring increases of 1.5% on each year.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any other comments, questions?
Commissioners,
Yes,
one
please.
issue I forgot to mention. It is not entirely clear on the record online with the Secretary of State's office what the status of that corporation that was just mentioned is. The principal of the company says that the Secretary of State's office has reinstated that corporation, which was previously dissolved by the Secretary of State. That is not an uncommon thing. It happens all the time. And folks then find a future reason that they want to use that previously established corporation. They seek reinstatement. The gentleman says his lawyer has been informed, verbally at least, by the Secretary of State's office that the corporation has been reinstated, but the last time I looked a few days ago, that did not appear online. I wonder if the motion could reflect this, that if we can't determine that issue with certainty, that the lessee can be the gentleman's other corporation, which he offered. And I think Ray has that name. I hope he does.
His other corporation was Bully Aeroplane Works and Air Shows.
And that corporation is clean and in good shape with the Secretary of State's office online.
You clear on the?
Yes, I
on the
am
motion?
clear if Commissioner Palmer agrees
You
to that
okay with
amended
that?
motion.
You okay with that addition?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
That's further clarification. We'll move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad you could understand that.
Any further questions after the change on the motion there? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Thank you, sir. Item number 7 on the agenda is late fine fee policy and passport acceptance facility. Kelly Renee?
Raina, sir.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you so much for having me today. The library met with their Library Advisory Board on April 10th, and we got a positive vote to go late fine free and to become a passport hub. So basically, all that means is we're not going to charge for a book to be late, which removes a barrier for people to return to the library to use our free services and take advantage of the services that they want to pay for, including our copy machine, our printouts, and hopefully our passport fee. So the passport fee is a $35 per application. Currently, 3 other libraries does it in the state. One library was able to make a revenue of $17,000 in 1 year. So it would be a great revenue source. Based on our population, you're estimating about for every 130 people, you get 1 appointment. So that's 310 appointments a year for our population. So that's an estimate of $10,850 per year. And this is just a rough estimate. So this would be a great way to not only make additional revenue for the library and by the greater Person County, but also replace any lost revenues for going late fine free. And we're still charging for damaged books and lost books, but we can't really charge the set fee because each book is a different amount of money. Questions?
Board member questions?
Chairman Powell, I'd like to ask, is there any equipment that's going to be required for us to purchase for doing these passports?
None at all. There was a question about whether we're going to offer the photo. One library offers it and charges $10, but the other 2 does not offer it, and it's not a requirement for the Passport Hub. So it is a potential thing that we can talk about in the future if we see that our population says we need the passport picture, and that may require a green screen and a camera, but that is a minuscule cost, no exceeding costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When would you see starting the passport acceptance?
So the state will provide certification for all of our qualified employees, and currently all of our employees qualify to get certified. And once that certification takes place, and they said they could do it as early as July 1st, and that's where we requested for a new fiscal year. And with that, it shouldn't take more than a month at most, so August of this year.
I know people who need passports. I'm one of them, so anyway, thank you.
Exactly right. We're just trying to make sure that we offer the service in town, that they don't have to go to Durham, Graham, or Raleigh. We gotta meet their needs here.
Very good.
I do have another question.
Yes, sir.
Now, excuse me, I may be way off balance or out of memory loss here. but my wife went to Durham about 10 years ago
Mhm.
when our daughter was doing a semester in Ireland
Mhm.
for passport, and I believe she paid $50 in Durham.
So the $35 application fee is a set fee by the state, and that's per application. However, they have to pay an additional fee, and that is, and I'll pull up my document. So for an adult passport book, they'll have to pay another $130, and for a card, it's $30. But those are set fees by the state, so we don't see any of that money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I serve on the library board, and when Kaylee brought this up, we do not have a place in Person County to apply for a passport. You'd have to go outside the county. The services rendered are more or less administrative.
Absolutely.
They will take into picture, make sure all the information is correct on the forms, and take the fee in and submit it up. So I think this would be a win-win for the library and for Person County.
And we hope we get people from Virginia coming down as well. That's what one of the libraries that's doing it says that they have a lot of people traveling across state.
How do you get that word out?
So we're gonna use all our typical in radio, newspaper, Facebook posts. Word of mouth is really key as well.
And it goes into Virginia with all those.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I authorize the library to establish a late fine fee policy and begin serving as a passport acceptance facility and indicate support for the fee changing that would be recommended in the fiscal year 2024 fee schedule.
A motion on the floor. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the request as presented, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Thank you. All right. For Chairman's report, maybe just a few comments. Seems to be the month of May, and a lot of things are happening and going on. This is Small Business Week, and a lot of events scheduled around the county through the Chamber of Commerce, one of which is a coffee hour tomorrow morning at Golden Corral at 8 o'clock, if anyone would like to attend. Would like to acknowledge some of our own tonight. Our clerk to the board that refuses to take any compliments from anybody for the job she does. But we did give her some flowers last week, and she seemed like they were very, very pretty.
Very nice, thank you all. I
But
appreciate it.
she does a super job for us, keeping us in order and in line as she demonstrated tonight. That was a test. See if you caught that. No, I'm just kidding. She does an outstanding, super job. And also, our attorney has been named the chairman of the board to the RDU Airport Authority, and very noteworthy. And so we want to compliment him, or compliment both, for representing us even beyond the boundaries of Person County. I did attend a City Hall, City Hall meeting by the Ministerial Alliance last week, and it was about fentanyl and drug abuse, which was very well done. Had a lot of good speakers that addressed the issue that we have, and some assistance that may be offered to those that might be in a bad situation with drug abuse. I met with EMS director and toured his facility last week, and he explained some of the shortfalls they have as far as funding, personnel, and the outdated and undersized facility that they have. And I think some of the others may have witnessed that as well. I did meet with Representative Jeffers and Senator Meyer to discuss some of the local needs in Person County and possible legislative assistance, and along with our manager that was last week, wasn't it? I lose my weeks from week to week. And to another concern that we hear almost every day now is about the Duke Energy proposed closing of our 2 coal-fired generating plants, and I think Duke Energy has done a good job of keeping the Economic Development Board informed, as well as this board, about their plans and timelines, and to a great degree, I still don't believe they know exactly what they're gonna do. They do have a plan, and that plan does favor Person County, in my belief. And we have the assistance of our county attorney and also a lobbyist that keeps us informed there about what's going on in the legislature downtown Raleigh. And but again, I think Person County is highly favored when it comes to future generation and the protection of our tax base here. And we appreciate all the efforts of Duke Energy, and in particular, one that's going away is Tanya Evans, has worked with us very well, and someone will be replacing her very soon. At the commissioner's desk today, I did place a copy of an appreciation letter from a George Alton, who was a relative of Lieutenant George H. Yarborough, Jr., where now it had been so long past that I almost forgotten my involvement in it, but had a section of a Person County road named for this first lieutenant who died in France in World War I. And when he was visiting his alma mater, as well as Commissioner Puryear at the Citadel, he saw a picture of this person who was a relative of his. And he looked into that and found that this board approved through DOT to have a section of a highway named for him in Person County. So that was 100 years ago. And he was very complimentary of this board and Person County for acknowledging his relative and his service and all to Person County. That concludes my report, and Manager Kathy.
Couple of things. We did hit a milestone tonight by your authorizing approval of the Great Grant Agreement. So I will make sure I get that signed tomorrow and submitted to the state. Zytel's representative has already signed it, so we'll get the state to sign off on it. And then we will be all set for Zytel to begin construction on the first broadband expansion project funded with the county's ARP funds and money that has come from the state through the Great Grant Program. We look forward to hearing a presentation from Zytel at your next meeting, where they'll provide details about the project and their timelines. And then also want to let you know we have finalized the RFQ for the Human Services Building. So we will be releasing that tomorrow and accepting proposals for constructing a new facility that the county could either lease or purchase, depending upon how those negotiations transpire. We are continuing to negotiate with Brixmor, so there's still the opportunity to stay put if we are successful in those negotiations, but we are leaving the opportunity open to pursue a different plan if we feel that that's in the best interest of the county.
Thank you. Commissioner Sims?
I just want to thank everyone that came out tonight and gave their presentation and talked about their concerns. And I appreciate that. And you know, it doesn't go on deaf ears. We hear the what people are saying out there, and I just appreciate you coming out to this meeting and discussing it with us.
Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, I'd like to thank also those that showed up tonight, and I invite you to future meetings. A lot of times we get slammed around quite a lot for they assume that we're not doing anything, and we're several months ahead of them. And not to disparage anybody from doing that because they don't know better, but if you would come to these meetings more, you would definitely find out we are working on most everything that comes to this podium here already. And I'd like to mention this Charters of Freedom project over here. I've been taking pictures of it as it progressed. Saw the holes when they were, actually I saw the circular pattern that was first done, then they dug the holes. Now they poured the concrete, so they are moving forward pretty fast on that project, and I think we will all be very satisfied once this project is completed for the county. That's all I have.
Commissioner Perrier?
I'm just asked the county manager to look into what Mr. Stoltman brought up tonight regarding the use of lake property at Mayo Lake. This hasn't been brought up for some time. It's probably about 15 years ago at least, the last time it was even peaceably looked into at that time, and I do not believe that Diener or Wildlife was interested in moving forward with it. But if we could just take a look and see what possible options or what road path we would have to go down to potentially unlocking that potential option on that. Also, to echo the chairman, my eyes lit up when I saw that Lieutenant Yarborough's picture was placed at Daniel Library at the Citadel, my alma mater, and I will definitely have to check that out next time I'm down there.
Commissioner Thomas?
Just want to say that DSS is still looking for foster parents. Our employees that work with social service have stepped up, and they have been providing round-the-clock care for these teenagers that have nowhere to go. They have no home, and they've had a couple hard weeks. These employees have, and if it's on your heart to become a foster parent, I suggest that you go to DSS and just have a conversation.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. We are adjourned.